February 14, 1947, Valentine's Day. When Billie Holiday walked into the clinic on 52nd Street in New York, she was expecting simple treatment for back pain. Dr. James Martinez smiled at her and said this medication will completely relieve your pain, as he administered the first injection. Billie didn't know at that moment that this painkiller was actually pure heroin, and Dr. Martinez was acting with FBI approval. In FBI files was a note dated February 11, 1947. Agreement reached with Dr. Martinez. Medication strategy to control subject Holiday will be initiated. That day, Billie Holiday's life changed forever. But it wasn't a doctor who did this, it was the FBI. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss all the details of this shocking medical manipulation story. Because the truths emerging from Dr. Martinez's FBI files show how the Hippocratic Oath was violated. Dr. James Martinez operated a small but respected clinic in New York's 52nd Street area in the 1940s. The 42-year-old Puerto Rican doctor was especially popular among musicians. His late-night hours, willingness to write prescriptions without asking questions, and understanding attitude made him the preferred name in the jazz community. However, behind Martinez's understanding attitude was a dark truth. He'd been working for the FBI since 1945. In FBI files, Martinez was recorded under the code name Cooperating Physician C-23. Federal agents had caught him in 1945. Fake prescriptions had been detected in his clinic records, and Martinez faced the risk of losing his medical license. The FBI offered him a choice: either lose your license and go to prison, or cooperate with them. Martinez chose the second option. From that day on, his clinic became a secret FBI base. Black artists were especially targeted. The FBI's agreement with Martinez was simple. He would give addiction-causing substances under the guise of treatment to artists designated as targets, report the process, and in return both his license would be protected, and he would receive monthly payments. Between 1945 to 1947, Martinez manipulated at least 10 artists with this system, but the biggest target came in early 1947, Billie Holiday. The note in FBI files dated February 4, 1947 was clear: subject Holiday seeking treatment for back pain, activating C-23, Operation Medicine Man commencing. Billie Holiday was indeed suffering from chronic back pain in early 1947. The intense concert schedule, long travels, and standing on stage for hours had damaged her back. Her manager Joe Glazer told Lady Day he had found a perfect doctor, Dr. James Martinez, a physician who gave special attention to musicians and offered appointments even late at night. Billie trusted Glazer. How could she not? They'd been working together for years. However, Glazer's finding Martinez wasn't coincidental. FBI files had clear statements about this. Agent Wilson contacted Glazer. Glazer agreed to direct subject to C-23. Glazer thanked for cooperation. Joe Glazer had either been manipulated by the FBI or had agreed to cooperate. Either way, the result was the same. Billie Holiday had been deliberately directed to Martinez. On the morning of February 14, 1947, Billie went to the clinic for her first appointment. The secretary at reception greeted her with unexpected warmth. "The doctor will see you specially, Miss Holiday." When she was taken to the examination room, Dr. Martinez shook her hand with a sincere smile. "I love strange fruit very much," he said. "It's an honor to see you here. Now let's look at your back and get you better quickly." Billie relaxed. This doctor seemed understanding. She didn't know that Martinez was taking notes at that moment to report to the FBI. During the examination, Dr. Martinez said Billie had tension in her back muscles. "I'm going to give you a strong painkiller," he said. "In injection form it's more effective. After a few sessions you'll be completely healed." Billie didn't object. She trusted the doctor. Martinez prepared the injection, inserted the needle into Billie's arm, and slowly administered the medication. "This might make you a little drowsy, but don't worry, it's normal," he said. Within a few seconds, Billie experienced an unexpected feeling. A warm wave through her body, a relaxation in her mind, all tension suddenly dissolving. The pain had really gone away, but there was more than that. She felt like she was floating on clouds. "This medication is incredible," she told Martinez. The doctor smiled. "Yes, very effective. I want you to come twice a week. Let's continue your treatment plan." When Billie left the clinic, she felt better than she had in years. Not just the back pain but all her life anxieties, FBI fears, relationship problems, everything had lightened. Why didn't I go to this doctor before, she thought. When she got home she told friends how wonderful the doctor was. She didn't know that she had just received her first dose of heroin, and there was no turning back. That night Dr. Martinez wrote his first report to the FBI. First dose administered to subject Holiday. 3 mg pure heroin, intravenous. Positive reaction, euphoria observed. Subject unsuspecting. Accepted as medication. Next session February 18. Dosage will be gradually increased. Addiction process initiated. This report was sent to the FBI's New York office and the note Operation Medicine Man Phase 1 successful was added to the file. The plan the FBI applied through Dr. Martinez was extremely systematic. In the first stage, the doses given to Billie were low, calculated to allow the body to adapt, to create addiction without arousing suspicion. At each session, Martinez would say the treatment was going very well, praise Billie, and slightly increase the dosage. Billie didn't notice because the change was gradual and skillful. The second session took place on February 18. When Billie came to the clinic, she told Martinez her back was much better. "But I want to experience that relaxation feeling again," she said. Martinez smiled inwardly. This was the first sign of addiction. "Of course, Miss Holiday, today I'll give a slightly stronger dose, let's accelerate the treatment." After the second injection, Billie felt wonderful all that week. Concerts were easier, social anxieties decreased, sleep quality improved. By March, Billie was coming twice a week for sessions and eagerly awaiting her appointments. Martinez congratulated her. "The treatment is going very successfully, but let's continue a bit more so your back is completely healed." Billie didn't object at all. Actually, her back was fine now, but she didn't want to give up that medication. Her body was now demanding heroin, and Billie hadn't yet realized this was addiction. The March reports and FBI files showed Martinez's success. Subject now receiving 2 doses per week, total of 12 doses completed. Physical dependency symptoms have begun. Subject anxious about missing sessions. Plan proceeding. The FBI's goal was to make Billie addicted, then cut off the drug source and put her in a difficult position. Either she would stop singing Strange Fruit or she would be arrested on drug charges. Both options worked for the FBI. In April 1947, Billie Holiday left for a week-long concert series in Los Angeles. This meant she would be away from Martinez's clinic for the first time in a week. The first 2 days were normal, but on the third day her body began giving strange signals. Sweating, trembling, nausea, muscle pain, all of these started. Billie thought it was something flu-like, but she was actually experiencing withdrawal syndrome. By the 4th day, the situation became unbearable. Billie couldn't get out of bed at the hotel. Her whole body ached. She was breaking out in cold sweats. The concert was canceled and manager Glaser frantically called New York. Dr. Martinez told Glaser on the phone, "Miss Holiday is probably experiencing a drug reaction. It could be dangerous if we stop the treatment. She needs to return immediately." Glaser arranged a plane ticket, and Billie returned to New York before fully recovering. When she arrived at Martinez's clinic, Billie felt like she was going to faint. "Doctor, this is terrible. What happened to me?" she asked. Martinez calmly said, "Your body has gotten used to the treatment. It reacted when you suddenly stopped. Don't worry. Let me give you the medication. You'll get better right away." Within minutes of the injection, all of Billie's symptoms disappeared. The feeling of relief returned. "God, I can't do without this medication," she said. Martinez thought exactly to himself. This incident was a turning point for Billie, but she still couldn't see the truth. Her body was now physically dependent on heroin, but mentally she still believed it was treatment. In his report to the FBI, Martinez stated, "Subject's first withdrawal crisis occurred. Dependency fully established. Subject can no longer function without medication. Control achieved. Next phase can be initiated." The FBI was satisfied. The plan was working perfectly. In June 1947, Dr. Martinez made an unexpected announcement. He told Billie, "I have unfortunate news. This medication is experiencing production problems. I may not be able to supply it, but don't worry, I can find you an alternative." Billie panicked. What would she do without that medication? Martinez gave her a name and address. "This person is reliable, can provide you with the medication you need. It might be a bit more expensive, but quality is guaranteed." When Billie went to the given address, the person she encountered was a street dealer. The man gave her a small package and said, "This is what you need." When Billie got home, she opened the package. Inside was white powder and a syringe. For the first time, she had to inject herself. She felt her hands trembling, but she was compelled. Her body was demanding it. The first attempt failed. On the second, she found the vein. Within seconds, the familiar relief came. This transition was the critical stage of the FBI's plan. Now Billie Holiday was obtaining heroin through illegal means, and was technically committing a federal crime. Martinez had pushed her from the clinic's safe environment into the dangerous world of the street, and every procurement, every use from then on meant arrest risk. The FBI had reached exactly where they wanted. Lady Day was now an illegal drug user, and they could arrest her whenever they wanted. The July report in FBI files celebrated this success. Subject now procuring from illegal sources. Transition from clinical dependency to illegal addiction completed. Subject ready for arrest. Timing to be determined strategically. Operation Medicine Man complete success. Martinez received a bonus in addition to his monthly payment. The FBI noted he had provided exceptional service. A doctor had deliberately made a patient addicted and was rewarded. On the morning of May 24, 1947, while Billie Holiday was sleeping in her hotel room in Philadelphia, the door was pounded hard. Federal agents and local police raided. Heroin was found in the room and Billie was arrested. The lead agent told her, "Miss Holiday, you're under arrest for possession and use of narcotics." Billie was in shock. How had this happened? She was just using medication her doctor gave her. When she was taken to the station, her lawyer came and she slowly understood the truth. The painkiller she was using was heroin and she was obtaining it through illegal means. "But my doctor gave it to me," Billie protested. The lawyer told her a bitter truth. "Billie, if your doctor gave you heroin, he's facing big problems. But right now the problem is yours, because it's proven you obtained it illegally." Billie felt her head spinning. What had Dr. Martinez done to her? At the hearing, the judge offered Billie two options, either prison or a rehab center. Billie chose rehab and was sent to Alderson Federal Prison Camp, a correctional facility for women but actually a prison. She stayed there for 10 months and went through a difficult detox process. Her body was so dependent on heroin that the first weeks were terrible. Vomiting, trembling, hallucinations, horrible pain. But slowly, she cleaned up. During this process, Billie tried to reach Dr. Martinez, but the doctor had vanished. His clinic was closed, his phone unanswered, as if he had never existed. When Billie's friends tried to find the doctor, they got strange information from neighbors. Dr. Martinez suddenly left the city, didn't inform anyone. The FBI had secretly relocated Martinez to protect him. He had completed his mission and now needed to be safe. Billie Holiday wasn't Dr. Martinez's only victim. FBI files showed that at least 12 black artists were treated by Martinez between 1945. Each had experienced a similar pattern: an ordinary health problem, referral to Martinez, painkiller treatment, addiction, and finally legal troubles. All were on the FBI's target list, those singing protest songs like Strange Fruit, supporting the civil rights movement, activists seen as dangerous. Jazz trumpeter Frank Williams had gone to Martinez's clinic for asthma treatment in 1946. 6 months later, he became a heroin addict, and his career ended. Blues singer Dorothy Lane consulted Martinez for migraines in 1948. A year later, died of an overdose. Saxophonist Jimmy Carson received treatment from Martinez in 1949 and was arrested on drug charges in 1950. His career ended. The list went on and on. The most tragic case was Charlie Bird Parker. Parker had gone to Martinez's clinic in 1949, but his friends warned him, "Stay away from that doctor, he's destroying people." Parker listened and didn't go. However, he had already started on heroin through other means by that time and died in 1955 at age 34. Friends later said, if he had gone to Martinez, he might have died sooner. Martinez's impact was so devastating that not only the patients he treated but the entire jazz scene of the era feared him. For the FBI, this was success. Fear had been created among black musicians, many careers had been destroyed, protest music had been weakened, and most importantly, all this was done with seemingly legitimate tactics like drug war and physician-patient relationship. No one could directly accuse the FBI because visibly there was only a doctor. In 1983, 36 years later, Dr. James Martinez was on his deathbed from lung cancer. While receiving treatment at St. Mary Hospital in Miami, he told Catholic priest Father Michael O'Connor that he wanted to confess. When the priest entered Martinez's room, he saw the elderly doctor in tears. Martinez began to confess. "Father, I've committed terrible sins. I killed people." Martinez told the story, how the FBI forced him, how he deliberately gave heroin to Billie Holiday and other artists made them addicted. "I killed Billie Holiday, Father. That woman became addicted because of me. I violated the Hippocratic Oath. I succumbed to money, to fear. Can God forgive me?" The priest was shocked but did his duty. He listened to Martinez and prayed. Father O'Connor didn't record this confession because confession is sacred and confidential, but after Martinez's death, he struggled with his conscience. In the 1990s, he finally told the story to a writer friend, and this story appeared anonymously in the book Clerical Secrets. When FBI files were released in 2015, every detail the priest told was confirmed. Martinez had really lived with this sin until his death. Martinez died on August 15, 1983. His funeral was modest. Few attended besides family. His gravestone read, Dr. James Martinez, 1905 to 1983, in peace. But peace wasn't possible for Martinez, neither in this world nor perhaps beyond. Had the souls of Billie Holiday and other victims forgiven him? No one could know. When Operation Medicine Man documents were released to the public in 2015 under the Freedom of Information Act, a major scandal was expected. A federal agency using doctors to deliberately make citizens addicted, then arresting them. This was incredible. The media covered the issue extensively. Historians analyzed it. Civil rights organizations reacted. However, no official apology or statement came from the FBI. The institution only made a general statement. Operations during that period were conducted within the framework of the laws and norms of the time. The foundation tasked with protecting Billie Holiday's legacy tried to sue the FBI, but lawyers said they couldn't win the case due to statute of limitations. The events had occurred 60-70 years ago, and most of the relevant individuals had died. The Congressional Black Caucus requested an official apology from the FBI in 2016, and the clearing of the names of all victims of Operation Medicine Man. In his statement, Representative John Lewis said, "What the FBI did is state-sponsored oppression. Billie Holiday and other artists were deliberately destroyed. This is unacceptable and apologizing is the minimum requirement." However, this request went unanswered by the FBI and didn't turn into concrete legislation in Congress. The only gain was the Billie Holiday Act, a law passed in the New York State Legislature in 2017. This law restricted doctors' obligation to report patients to federal agencies and strengthened physician-patient confidentiality. In the acceptance speech, the sponsoring senator said, "We're passing this law so that tragedies like Billie Holiday never happen again." This was a small but meaningful contribution to Lady Day's legacy. The Dr. Martinez case is taught in medical schools today in ethics courses. At Harvard Medical School, there's a case study titled The Martinez Betrayal. Students discuss the dilemma Martinez faced. What should a doctor do under FBI threats? Can fear of losing one's license excuse violating the Hippocratic Oath? Most medical students find what Martinez did unforgivable. Sarah Chen, a medical student from Stanford, said in a discussion, "Martinez made a choice. He could have accepted losing his license but chose not to harm his patients. Instead, he succumbed to money and fear. This can never be defended." However, some students take a more nuanced approach. Martinez was also a victim. The FBI put him in a difficult position. Of course, what he did was wrong, but we shouldn't forget the system. The American Medical Association examined the Martinez case in 2018 and published a special report, Physician Independence and Government Pressure. The report emphasized the importance of protecting doctors against government pressures. The Martinez case shows us that the physician-patient relationship must be sacred and free from external pressures. Physicians must be loyal to their patients, not to any other power, said the AMA president. The most striking modern echo came in the context of the opioid crisis. In the 2020s, when America was experiencing an opioid addiction epidemic, historians looked at the Martinez case again. Similarities were seen between companies like Purdue Pharma manipulating doctors to make patients addicted and what Martinez did for the FBI. In both cases, the system was using doctors as weapons, one in the name of federal security, the other for profit. The result was the same. The patient was the victim. After getting out of Alderson in 1948, Billie Holiday tried to stay clean. The first months were difficult. Her body still demanded heroin, but she resisted. She returned to her concerts, recorded new songs, tried to rebuild her life. Her friends saw how strong she was. She could beat addiction. However, the FBI didn't leave her alone. After getting out of Alderson, Billie's cabaret license was revoked. She couldn't perform in nightclubs in New York. This meant losing a large part of her income source. Also, FBI surveillance continued. Every step was monitored. Under this pressure, Billie was psychologically worn down. In late 1949, in a weak moment,
She used again. The addiction had returned. In the 1950s, Billie struggled with addiction many times. Sometimes she'd stay clean for months, then fall again. After each fall, she blamed herself, thought she was weak. But in reality, the physical damage Martinez had done was so deep that once her body became addicted, it couldn't fully recover. The neurological changes were permanent. Brain chemistry had changed. The most painful part was that Billie's addiction was seen by the public as personal failure. The press labeled her drug-addicted jazz singer. No one asked about Dr. Martinez, didn't investigate the FBI's role. Lady Day was blamed alone, and this unfair stigmatization made her psychological burden even heavier. Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald all knew what happened to Billie Holiday. They had heard about Martinez's role, were aware of the FBI connection, but none spoke openly. Why? Because speaking could risk their own careers. In Duke Ellington's personal diaries was an indirect reference to Martinez. Poor Lady Day, destroyed by enemies she didn't know. We know but stay silent, because they're watching all of us. The one who speaks could be the next target. These sentences showed the fear atmosphere of that period. Artists wanted to protect each other but didn't dare speak against the system. Louis Armstrong indirectly touched on it in a 1960s interview. Some doctors don't help musicians, they harm them. We lost great artists like Billie because they trusted the wrong people. But Armstrong didn't give Martinez's name, didn't mention the FBI, he just implied. Even that required courage. Ella Fitzgerald never spoke about Martinez, but in the 1970s at a concert while singing God Bless the Child, she cried and said, "This is for Lady Day, who never had a fair chance." These words summarized everything. Billie Holiday had never gotten a fair chance. The system had condemned her from the start.
Dr. Anna Lemke from Johns Hopkins Addiction Center analyzed the Martinez case and said, "What Martinez did to Billie Holiday is called iatrogenic addiction, physician-caused addiction. This is the worst type of medical malpractice because the patient trusts the doctor. Abusing this trust is unforgivable." Dr. Lemke also explained that addiction was much harder for Lady Day due to the physical damage Martinez created. The manner of first heroin exposure matters. Martinez used high-quality pure heroin and gave it intravenously. This creates a very powerful nitro-reward memory in the brain. Billie's brain never forgot this experience and constantly wanted to repeat it. This is neurological, can't be overcome with willpower. Neuroscientist Dr. Robert Malenka from Stanford University added, "Addiction is a brain disease, not a character weakness. Billie Holiday was a strong woman, but Martinez changed her brain. He hijacked the dopamine system. In this situation, staying clean is incredibly difficult. That Billie struggled for years actually shows her strength, not her weakness." This modern scientific perspective allows us to reevaluate Billie Holiday's story. She was a victim, not guilty, and the real guilty parties were Dr. Martinez and the FBI system that directed him. Dr. Martinez had 2 children, son Roberto and daughter Maria. Neither knew their father worked for the FBI. When their father died, they thought they carried the memory of a respected doctor. However, when FBI files were released in 2015, their lives were turned upside down. Roberto Martinez said in an interview, "When I learned what my father did, I was shocked. He was my hero, but now I understand he was a monster. I loved Billie Holiday, listened to her music, and then I learned my father was the person who killed her. How do I digest this?" Roberto even considered changing his father's name. The Martinez surname was now like a stain. Maria Martinez was even more affected. She was a nurse herself and placed great importance on medical ethics. When she learned what her father did, she began questioning her profession. "If a doctor can do such terrible things, how can we trust medicine?" she asked. She went into depression for a while, started therapy. Eventually she accepted that her father's sins weren't her responsibility, but the wound never healed. Both made a joint statement in 2016, "What our father did to Billie Holiday and other patients is unforgivable. We apologize on his behalf. We offer our deepest condolences to the victims' families." This statement was received positively by the public. At least the Martinez family was accepting responsibility, even if the FBI wasn't. By the late 1950s, Billie Holiday's health was rapidly deteriorating. Heroin addiction had seriously damaged her liver. Cirrhosis had developed. Doctors told her she didn't have much time left, but Billie didn't leave the stage. Music was the only thing she had left in life. In an interview in early 1959, Billie said, "I wish I had never gone to that doctor. Those medications ruined my life. But you know in the beginning it was so good. They deceive you, then there's no escape. These words were an indirect reference to Martinez. Billie still wasn't giving the doctor's name. Maybe she was still afraid, or maybe she just wanted to leave the past behind. When Billie Holiday died on July 17, 1959, the death certificate stated cirrhosis and heart failure. But experts knew the real cause was chronic heroin use, and that heroin use had started in Dr. Martinez's clinic. While Martinez wasn't directly responsible for Billie's death, he was certainly indirectly responsible. At the funeral, thousands of people said goodbye to Lady Day. But Dr. Martinez wasn't there. No one knew where he was anyway. Martinez was at home that day, in Miami, watching funeral news on television. And perhaps for the first time, his conscience was bothering him. The sin he would confess on his deathbed 24 years later had begun that day. First, do no harm. Primum non nocere. This is the fundamental principle of medical ethics. Every doctor swears by this principle. Dr. Martinez violated this oath in the most horrific way. Not only did he cause harm, he deliberately made his patient addicted. This is one of the worst violations in medical history. Medical history professor Dr. Howard Markle describes the Martinez case as one of the darkest examples after Nazi doctors' experiments. Nazi doctors did terrible things under the excuse of war and madness. Martinez did it in peacetime, in a normal clinic, under FBI orders. This is more frightening in some ways because it happened within the system, appearing legitimate. Bioethics expert Professor Arthur Kaplan adds, the Martinez case shows us that medical ethics isn't just about individual doctor decisions, it's also about resistance to systemic pressures. Doctors must protect their patients against government, money, fear. Martinez didn't do this, and went down in history as a black stain. Johns Hopkins University's Medical History Department has a permanent exhibition titled The Martinez Betrayal. The exhibition displays Billie Holiday's photographs, Martinez's FBI files, and the text of the Hippocratic Oath side by side. Visitors read the oath, then see Martinez's files and understand what kind of violation occurred. The exhibition text says, "This exhibition is a warning to future generations of doctors. No pressure, no threat, no money can justify harming your patients." Operation Medicine Man wasn't an isolated incident. It emerged that the FBI targeted many activists, artists, and people it deemed dangerous. With similar tactics between 1940, under the COINTELPRO program, doctors, psychiatrists, therapists were forced to work for the FBI. Before Black Panther leader Fred Hampton was killed in 1969, his personal doctor was reporting to the FBI. The doctor was informing when Hampton would be home, his health condition, his daily routine. This information was used by the FBI to target Hampton. Activist Angela Davis's psychiatrist was pressured by the FBI in the 1970s. Agents tried to obtain information about Davis's psychological condition by violating therapist-patient confidentiality. The therapist refused and faced threats of losing her license. This time the therapist resisted and protected Davis, but very few doctors showed this courage. Martin Luther King Jr. Soan's personal doctor was also approached by the FBI, but he also refused. The FBI later marked this doctor as non-cooperative and tried to restrict his freedom of movement. King's doctor lived under FBI surveillance for years, punished for not cooperating like Martinez. These examples show that the Martinez case was a systemic problem. The FBI was systematically contaminating medical relationships, turning doctors into spies, and most doctors, like Martinez, succumbed to fear or money. Today, Billie Holiday is remembered as one of the greatest voices in music history. But when her story is told, Martinez's betrayal is now also included. Lady Day's addiction is no longer seen as personal weakness, but as victim of systemic attack. At the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's Billie Holiday exhibition, there's a special section about Dr. Martinez, titled The Doctor Who Destroyed a Legend. The exhibition has Martinez's FBI files, the first heroin prescription, Billie's photos at Alderson. Visitors see the truth. Lady Day's addiction was deliberately created. In the Smithsonian's American Music History exhibition, next to Billie Holiday's voice is this text. The pain in Lady Day's voice came not only from life tragedies but also from FBI's systematic oppression. She was made addicted through Dr. Martinez, followed, arrested, and finally destroyed. But her voice still lives, and the truth is now known. In modern biographies, the Martinez case occupies a central place. John Schwedd's Billie Holiday, the Musician and the Myth book devotes an entire chapter to Martinez. Julia Blackburn's With Billie book analyzes the FBI Martinez connection in detail. Now Billie Holiday's story can't be told without Martinez. The Billie Holiday who walked into that clinic on February 14, 1947, was innocent, healthy, and just wanted to get rid of back pain. Dr. Martinez told her this medication will relieve your pain, and administered the first injection. That moment began Billie's end. But at the same time, one of the darkest lessons in medical ethics history was written at that moment. What Martinez did is unforgivable. Acting under FBI orders, being under pressure doesn't change anything. A doctor must protect their patient, under all conditions, despite all threats. Martinez didn't do this, and Lady Day's blood is on his hands. Today, every year, thousands of medical students hear Martinez's story when they take the Hippocratic Oath. Don't be like Martinez, they're told. Don't let any power, any money, any fear make you betray your patients. Lady Day's tragedy thus becomes a warning for future generations of doctors. Billie Holiday's voice still echoes around the world. Strange Fruit is still sung, God Bless the Child is still listened to. But now those who listen to her story know the truth. That voice suffered, was betrayed, and was systematically tried to be destroyed. Dr. Martinez and the FBI tried to silence her, but couldn't succeed. Because true art doesn't die, it only becomes stronger. And Lady Day's legacy will live much longer than the names of those who tried to destroy her.